In recent years, the United States government has made steady progress in addressing data challenges by acquiring IT and cloud systems to help interpret, manage, and make sense of data. Now, we're moving into a new phase focused on maximizing the potential of data analytics and AI. This shift, however, demands a better architected infrastructure, streamlined data flows across IT systems, and tools built to scale. Achieving this requires a fundamentally new approach to designing enterprise tools and managing data flows, and that includes breaking down proprietary system barriers, ensuring interoperability among various IT systems, and incorporating governance into tools and data flows. And as agencies face this next wave of IT advancements and grapple with how to effectively and safely implement artificial intelligence applications, they're also going to need to address a new wave of challenges moving from pilots to production. I'm Wyatt Cash with Scoop News Group, and joining us to share their perspectives on these new challenges are Bridget Carper, Deputy Chief Information Officer for Architecture, Engineering, Technology, and Innovation at the Department of Energy. We also have Olivia Zhu, Assistant Director for AI Policy at the White House, and Joel Meyer, President of Public Sector, Domino Data Lab, and formerly Deputy Assistant Secretary for Strategic Initiatives at the Department of Homeland Security. Bridget and Olivia and Joel, thank you so much for joining us. And I'd like to start the conversation with you, Bridget. What are some of the key challenges that agency leaders face right now when moving AI applications from pilot testing to full-scale production and implementation?
Afternoon, Ryan. Thanks for having me. One of the areas that we've noticed is the excitement. So that's positive that individuals are excited to be pilot testers, to be able to use the tools to help increase their productivity. But a few of the challenges we're noticing is the unknown. So we'll start with budget. We didn't budget 2 years ago in the federal budget cycle for some of these tools and to understand the consumption. If you build it properly, you're going to have more use. And so one of those areas is part of it. The other is having the tools available for everyone. If you're providing access and ways to make someone's job easier, it's how do we scale that across, because everyone would like to have those equal access and to be able to have that conversation. And then lastly is the cybersecurity. Some of the areas from a test to production, there is the records, there's that area around being in compliance, but then also the data, because the different levels of data that we're seeing being used between a pilot and then in production, those have some different levels. So being able to combine all of those together to make that available for the end user.
And Joel, from your broader perspective, what else are you seeing that agencies are wrestling with?
Those are all really terrific points that Bridget made, and we see those broadly across many agencies that we work with. One that I would maybe particularly highlight is the struggle to try to make progress as fast as possible and show success in early projects while still waiting for budget to catch up. And so that poses challenges to getting the right people and talent in place, as well as the right tooling. And so oftentimes we see people looking for vendors to sort of add on services to what they've already been providing. Other times people are turning to innovation units or task forces to try to identify new ways to pilot technologies to access new talent. At my former agency, DHS, for example, they've initiated the DHS AI Core hiring effort, where they already have over 25 AI experts hired. So we see a lot of creative solutions being put in place to try to overcome some of those challenges. But we certainly anticipate that as the budget catches up, you're going to see a real exponential takeoff in activity and success.
So, Olivia, you played a really interesting role on behalf of the White House in helping to bring out the executive order on AI and really provide a lot of policy support for agencies. Can you talk about what steps can agencies take to ensure that AI platforms are actually user-friendly and provide a good user experience to promote adoption?
For sure, Wyatt. And so, by the way, thank you for having me here. And I wanted to say that the policies that the administration has put out over the past 4 years on AI have been comprehensive and directed actions across agencies. But I think what we're really excited about is that these policies actually provide a roadmap for how agencies can make sure their AI applications are user-centric and focus on the user. For example, for the policy for government use of AI that the administration put out, it lays out specific steps that agencies can take to engage the public all the way from the ideation phase through production. So that includes stakeholder engagement, talking to your community, talking to your end users, working backwards from their problems and understanding how your AI can best benefit them, to making sure that at the very end, that you provide users with notice and explanation of, for example, you are interacting with an AI system to earn their trust, and to give them an opportunity for opt-outs, or for recourse if an AI makes an unfavorable decision. And so, all of these technical practices are embedded through the policy. And so we really see the policy as a roadmap that agencies can use to follow to implement AI systems, which are really, really user-centric.
So Bridget, AI is coming in a lot of flavors, and I'm curious from your perspective how agencies can ensure that AI platforms are both scalable and responsible, but also auditable. And what can agencies do more of to ensure that?
So like Olivia said, what they've given us from the White House has been very descriptive. It's been very helpful as we're working. I have a federal rated agency that has been doing AI for decades. However, we've never had this level of compliance and to be able to have a roadmap for me to follow on. I didn't make it up. This is coming from the White House. That gives you a lot of backing when you're having some of the conversations of, well, why do I need to do this? And then we walk through how it's protecting you because we are auditable and we should be stewards of our taxpayer dollars. But part of the pieces from the scalable is building it again once and then seeing how we could share it. And so that's one of the areas where if we have one authorizing official that's followed the steps, they've reviewed this tool, that we're able to share that across versus us dividing it and having 17 different instances of the same thing. And so building upon what we're collecting now and in our use case inventory are areas that we're learning now. And then over the next few months of, oh, wait, we could leverage this use case in 2 other labs or 2 other offices. So part of ours is that collaboration and then following the structure and guidance that we've been given.
And Joel, how else can agencies really make sure that their platforms are in fact responsible and auditable?
Have auditability at scale, it needs to be built on a platform that has that built in, that has that capability built in. It's not something that could be done manually or in spreadsheets or documents. It has to be systematic. That is something that we have rolled out at Domino Data Lab and that we see a lot of customers really, really excited about for that very reason. Building these models, the entire model development lifecycle is so complex. You're using multiple different data sources. You have multiple different data scientists and maybe even data science teams, maybe even multiple different organizations participating, let alone the testing, the evaluation, the deployment, the monitoring. These are very complex processes, and mistakes or biases or errors at any stage can compromise the effectiveness of those models. And having that auditability of what happened at every stage of that process is absolutely essential to ensuring that consistency and effectiveness that you want out of your models across that scaled and complex process.
And Olivia, back to you. I know we've been talking a bit about AI from a sort of technology point of view, but how can agencies ensure that AI applications also have the necessary governance and compliance guardrails built in without burdening users? And also, while you're on the topic, how do you do that and then also avoid vendor lock-in?
Yeah, for sure, Wyatt. And so I think first I want to push back a little bit on the dichotomy between building and compliance guardrails and burdening users. I mean, I think the way that we think about building safeguards into AI is also what makes sure that AI works for everybody and make sure that AI works in production. And so it's, building in guardrails and safety checks into AI systems actually helps earn trust with users. And then with regard to governance, some of the things that have been stood up in this administration include the establishment of agency chief AI officers. So having strong agency AI leadership has been really critical to, again, help agencies drive towards AI innovation, but also manage the risks of AI. The Chief AI Officers Council was also stood up in this administration to coordinate AI activities across the federal government. And so those are really key instruments for agency leadership to, elevate technical leadership within agencies, but also to share knowledge across the entire federal government. And then with regard to vendor lock-in, a lot of the policies that have been promulgated in this administration include things like making sure that agencies, again, directed by this leadership at the top, make sure to retain the rights over their data, make sure to maintain the rights over any data that has been manipulated by a vendor, labeled by a vendor, any model artifacts. So making sure that, the agency has built the proper capacity to really run AI governance, and build AI in service to the public.
So Joel, I think Olivia makes a really interesting point that governance and doesn't necessarily have to be mutually exclusive of burdening users. So talk about how you see the ability for agencies to really ensure both happen and really provide that user experience that agencies hope for.
We view it really the same way, that having effective and smart governance in place actually accelerates innovation and value delivery. And the reason for that is program managers and end users know what is allowable and what is not allowable, and they feel they have a green light to go forward on what is permitted. And that actually is a much better situation than maybe having a gray area or muddled guidance, or perhaps even no guidance. And then people can sometimes be hesitant and not sure what they're allowed to go do. And so we encourage organizations and actually advise them as well to develop policies, develop implementation plans, and then just as importantly for implementation is to programmatically and systematically program that into the Domino platform so that when users are going about their work, it's as routine and integrated as possible. And when you have all of those pieces put in place, you actually see much faster innovation and faster delivery.
That makes a lot of sense. And then this next question is probably for all three of you, and I'll start with you, Bridget. Where are you seeing practical success stories now in government through adopting scalable AI platforms?
We are seeing it a lot, and to combine this question with part of the other question is at Department of Energy, we had a solid governance structure that existed for all of our IT and OT. So once the executive order came out, adding AI, we piggybacked on an existing meeting. We already had the DepSec, we already had who is going to be our chief AI official officer there and the undersecretaries that across our agency. So we just incorporated it into our existing process. So it was already going along. And then we also added a data component. So we did highlight those two in their own groups, but that's where we see a lot of our innovation. And that's limited not just from AI, but for Department of Energy, we've had, like a lot of agencies we've talked to, they're a chatbot. So we have our Energy GPT where it's building upon an open model, but we put it in our environment so that we are able to do DOE data. It's not building the public model. We've also seen it around like the productivity tools. A lot of individuals like, how can I write things better? We've also looked at some of the documentation summary and getting to data easier. Even within, I've been here a year and a half, learning which office I should go to for something, if we're able to add AI on top of our own intranet. Those have been where we've gotten a lot of feedback that's positive. And then one of the areas I'll highlight, and again, it's something that's open for other agency, is policy AI around the NEPA documents. Again, a lot of documents. And climate is one of those areas that's not limited to energy. And so sharing that with other agencies, how we can streamline, how we can learn from each other, those are some of the simpler items that we've worked on, but we've seen that return on investments of helping save time, because then we can have like our staff work on areas that's more innovative if we're allowing the tools to do what they're doing.
And how about you, Olivia? Where are you seeing some practical success stories that have impressed you?
I think there's so many exciting places, not the least DOE, which are all the use cases that Bridget mentioned, that I'm excited about in government. And I think one really exciting trend is with the rise of generative AI models, seeing agencies use foundation models in a variety of different use cases. This is the same model, and reusing it and tailoring it to different use cases, which in and of itself is a scalable platform. And so some of the really interesting, I think, places we've seen, I know, Wyatt, you and I were talking with Guy the other day at OPM, who was talking about using LLMs to modernize COBOL and to translate COBOL code into new modern languages. I'm really excited about that, really hopeful about that and OPM's effort in that sense. And we also know that Department of State got TMF funding to use LLMs and foundation models to summarize, for example, the huge amount of information in diplomatic cables that they're getting from abroad to surface the key insights. And so I could go on for a very long time, but those are some of the areas I'm really excited about and use cases that we're seeing agencies across the federal government adopting and trying with scalable foundation models.
And Joel, any others that you'd add?
We see a lot, as Olivia and Bridget have alluded to. I'll share one, though, that I think is particularly impactful and an exciting project that Domino has been proud to support, and that's with the US Navy. They have a project called Project Ammo, and they are working to develop uncrewed undersea vehicles, or UUVs. There's a lot of autonomy and there's a lot of AI on those devices, and Domino's platform is the environment in which the Navy and their AI engineers and developers are building and testing models that end up being deployed on the UUVs, and then crucially retraining the models after the data is collected from the UUV after it has deployed. The Navy deploys in AWS GovCloud. They use Domino along with several of our partners, where we have integrated them into a end-to-end MLOps pipeline that has accelerated the Navy's ability to retrain those models from 6 months down to just 1 week. So this is transformational change in the ability to leverage AI and deploy it and retrain up-to-date models in a way that's operationally effective. And so that has just been an honor to serve that mission and to be able to support their really innovative and impactful application of AI.
And then a final question for each of you. Given all that the emerging group of chief artificial intelligence officers in government are now juggling today, what one recommendation or lesson would you offer to, help others take more significant advantage of AI platforms in government? Bridget, let's start with you.
I'd say if I was talking to Helena, who is our chief AI officer, it would be around listening to our agency. And so that is one of the areas of when we're deciding what to invest in, is hearing what are the business cases that we could use and making that decision versus we've seen in some cases, even within our own agency, of doing AI and then realizing, oh, we could have done something different or it didn't require AI. So I think the excitement sometimes is sometimes overmasked by what is the business objective we're actually trying to solve, and is AI the right case for that?
And Olivia?
Yeah, I would say I love the point that Bridget made around the business objective and being really clear about that. I think one thing I'll point out is that next year, agency chief AI officers will be creating agency AI strategies to talk through how their agencies are going to go big with AI. And so my advice would be to think big with that exercise. I think it's really exciting. Think through where your agency is going to be in 5 to 10 years. Really think through, like Bridget mentioned, the business value, the business proposition. Like, what problems do you want to solve with AI? And then working backwards from that end goal, what is the IT infrastructure, the technology modernization that needs to happen from your cloud systems to your data infrastructure, to training your employees? Like, what are all the building blocks that need to happen to move your organization towards a world in which you can achieve those really big goals with AI? And so I think it's really exciting, and I hope that chief AI officers take the most advantage out of that opportunity.
Absolutely. And Joel, your final thoughts?
There's so much buzz and excitement about AI, and we certainly feel it every day here at Domino. But the truth is, making change at large government agencies, or really bureaucracies of any kind, can sometimes be slower than you'd like and harder than you'd like. And so what we often talk about is the importance of putting points on the board, getting quick wins to demonstrate value and get people believing in what you're trying to do. Without that broader belief, not only from the top of your agency, but really from those who are on the front lines doing the day-to-day work of the agency, it's going to be hard to make real and lasting progress. So getting those quick wins on the board can help you get momentum, help you in your budget, advocate in your budget requests, help you get people to adopt the tools and approaches that you're bringing into your agency, and set you and your agency up for success.
Absolutely. Well, Bridget Carper and Olivia Chu and Joel Meyer, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your respective insights on how you see AI platforms continuing to influence how government agencies are evolving in their efforts to really continue supporting the public at large. So thank you all for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Lloyd.
Thank you.